Well, so welcome everyone to the maiden voyage of Sunday at Zeros. I'm Michael Stone with a man that needs no introduction, of course. Everyone knows the great Tom Durkin. So, Tom, I see you were born in Chicago. Is that Chicago proper or some surrounding hamlet?
I was actually born in Berwyn, Illinois, in McNeil Hospital, but we lived in the city of Chicago in the Austin neighborhood, pretty much. Right now, it's one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the world.
Well, that's
back then, yeah, back then it was dangerous when the Durkins were living there, I suppose.
So, I assume St. Norbert College was not so dangerous.
No, not idyllic northern Wisconsin, no.
Tell me a little bit about De Pere in Wisconsin. How did you arrive at that choice to go to De Pere?
Well, actually, at the time, you could be 18 years old and drink beer in Wisconsin.
That would have sold me.
So that was where my mindset was. And went up there. And actually, Michael, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I have a couple of academic records at St. Norbert College, which I'm sure will never be broken. One is that it took me 52 years to graduate. And the other is I'm the oldest person in the history of the school to graduate from there at age 68, I think it was when I...
Now, is any of this true?
Absolutely true, yes. I went, I was not a good student, let's put it that way. I had, different interests in college, like those guys in Animal House. But after 5 years, I still hadn't graduated, and I was still 2 courses short. Then I started my work career. And then after I retired in 2014, I said, let's go back to college. Let's finish this up. And so I went to the local community college here at Rhinebeck Community College. Took a psychology course, an anthropology course, got my 2 first A's in my academic career in college. And then I think it was May 8th, 2018, I walked across the stage in De Pere and got my sheepskin 52 years after I started trying to get it.
So now that your education has been properly documented, do you have any plans to do something productive with it?
Be retired and not feel guilty about not having graduated from college. It's the best I can do.
Well, I saw in my research that De Pere, that St. Norbert did become coeducational in 1952, I believe well before your attendance there. So you were not encumbered by the lack of female companionship at the school.
Well, no, but they did. The boys were on one end of the campus and the girls were on the completely other end of the campus. There were no girls allowed into the boys' dormitories at any time whatsoever. And, well, that was the rules anyway. Yeah. And but now, gosh, they share the same bathrooms on the same floors. It's crazy.
Well, that's probably a topic for another time. But I doubt that separation, even when you were in school, about the same time I was in school, I doubt that was very long-lived. I'm sure.
No, we had plenty of opportunity for fun.
So I see that you were a drama student.
Mm-hmm.
And if things were a little bit different, maybe a couple of left turns, I may be sitting here interviewing renowned thespian Tom Durkin.
Or you could be interviewing Tom Durkin, waiter at Ciro's and part-time actor, like most actors are. Waiter/actor.
So retrospectively, you feel you made the right decision?
Oh, absolutely. Not that I had any acting offers, but yeah, I was trained as an actor in college, and it really turned out to be a good thing, career-wise. For a number of reasons, it was very good. Not the least of which, I'm really not that fearful of getting up in front of an audience and talking, And also, it helped me memorize. That's pretty key when you're calling horse races.
Sure.
I had to memorize all of the lines and what have you. So you have certain training in memory. And also, it helped me with the drama of a horse race. I always kind of looked at them as little plays with a beginning act, a middle, and an end. And the horses were the characters.
Sure.
And their character types were in the past performances. Are you a front runner? Are you a closer? Are you a long shot?
Wow.
Are you a favorite? Are you really bad from the gate? Are you too fast for your own good? Are you too slow for your own good? And these are what all of the participants, that being horse players, they know these characters. They know how they're supposed to act in the play. And so if you view these races as 2-minute dramas,
Yes.
you know what the plot line is supposed to be. But here's the thing. Certitude is the enemy of drama. If you start a play and you know exactly how it's going to end, it's really boring. There's no point in going through the exercise. So horse racing is certainly that. You really don't know what the end is going to be like. 1 in every 3 races goes according to plan with the favorite winning, but it's those other 2/3 of the results that make it the interesting game that it is.
Wow. Wow. What a fascinating strategy. By the way, Hollywood would disagree. You know, contemporary Hollywood is all about the saying is you can only do so much with unscripted drama.
Mm-hmm.
And we've taken an inverted view, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, I've always been a little bit inverted.
So I'm really interested, Tom. When was the first time Tom Durkin sat down in front of the television and watched a horse race?
Oh, gosh, I don't really even recall that.
I mean, were you a youngster? Were you a teenager?
No. My dad used to go to the track, and
Yeah.
at that time, racing was hugely popular.
Of course.
And at Arlington Park, we'd have 30, 40,000 people every Saturday in Chicago. So it was part of the sports psyche at that time. There were racing stories on the front page of the Tribune sports section every day. And so I suppose, like a lot of people, I was interested in racing, growing up,
So how avid a fan was your father of horse racing?
Just a weekend warrior,
Mhm. Yeah.
pretty much.
So I'm sure he was quite proud of your career choice and achievements. Is that,
I think he was.
Tom, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Well, there's a point when your parents have said, and my parents sent me to very good schools all along, and I was a pretty good student until I got to college. But there's a thing, you get educated and you kind of owe it to them, to do that. But
Of course.
I suppose the day I came home and said, "Mom, Dad, I'm going to be a racetrack announcer."
Yeah, right away, they thought the money was risky.
And I
Right,
go,
Tom?
"Wow, you're supposed to be a priest, a lawyer, a politician, a doctor, you're going to be a what?"
Yeah.
I might as well say I'm going to go run off and join the circus. Same damn thing. And believe me, people that work in horse racing, they've the same damn story.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom, Dad. Thanks for the.
I've got to follow my dream.
Yeah, thanks for the
Yeah.
PhD, but I'd like I'd like to work with the racetrack. So
So I'm interested. I think the viewers will be very interested in when did it go from watching the race, being with your father, as you mentioned, a casual fan. When did it start to become? When were you enamored with the game? I assume at some point. I would use that word because you developed a passion for it because you made a career in it. So. Was that immediate, or was that something that evolved over time? Or?
Yeah, well, it wasn't anything I was very conscious of at the time, but now looking back. But I just remember going to Arlington Park, and it was teeming with excitement. You couldn't wait. We used to take the train, the Northwestern train that pulled right into Arlington Park, and right onto the racetrack itself. And the conductor, and we were so excited to go there. It was our $1.10 ticket to get out there from downtown out to Arlington Park, and the train ride out there, and you got a racing form, you're looking at it, and you're going to get there right before the double, and then the conductor says, "Last stop, everybody off, Treasure Island." And it was just an exciting place to go, teeming with people and activity. It smelled like cigars and corned beef sandwiches. And the crowd roared, when they came down the stretch, and it was a very, very exciting place.
Yeah. So we'll call it an unconscious evolution. How about that? As to your passion for the game, it developed really without any conscious effort.
Well, I suppose, yeah. I mean, I'm still unconscious quite a bit of the time these days, but yeah, I think you could fairly say that.
So when did you first get behind the microphone for your first call?
Well, I started out before that. We had a very exciting announcer in Chicago, a guy named Phil Georgieff. He was charismatic and exciting and fun and energetic. To me, he made every other announcer sound like a ticking clock.
Wow.
And Phil Georgieff, that's who I wanted to be.
Of course.
You know, I was just always a bit of a show off and didn't mind attention whatsoever. Pretty early on in the game, I figured I wasn't going to be a jockey, Michael. That wasn't going to happen for me. So I would do my imitation of Phil Georgieff. And in the neighborhood, we'd be standing on the corner, and my buddies would be the horses, and I would be Phil Georgieff, and they'd run around in circles. When I got to college, I'd stand on top of the bar. They'd run around the bar, do it in the cafeteria, and it became a bit of an act. But I wanted to be a racetrack announcer.
Sure.
And so anyway, back in 1971, people actually hitchhiked to get from one place to another. Yeah. And a friend of mine, Jim Ford, was in Milwaukee, and he was going up to Green Bay or De Pere to hang out with us over the weekend. And the guy picks him up on the road, Highway 41. They start talking. And it turns out that this guy's name was Marty Helmbrecht that picked him up, ran these county fairs in Wisconsin. And he did everything. He was the racing secretary, he was the steward, and he was the announcer. And he was telling Jim Ford, my buddy, like that announcing thing, I don't know how to do it, but, somebody's got to do it. And Ford goes, my friend Tom Durkin is the assistant announcer at Arlington Park in Chicago, and he probably wouldn't mind calling those races.
Unbelievable.
And the problem was, Jim never told me that. He just said, be in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin on May 20th, 1971 for the county fair there. And I got introduced as the assistant announcer at Arlington Park. One little problem, there is no assistant announcer at Arlington Park.
Well, no one knew
and
that, Tom.
I'm not him. My career is based on a gigantic lie, like many good careers.
I don't know if I would call it a wholesale lie or not. It wasn't.
Well, it wasn't my lie, it was his.
It was a canard to some degree, some prevarication. So, one of the fascinating stories I saw was sort of an anecdote when I was researching your bio, was that somehow you were a contestant on Match Game PM in 1980 and won $1,000. Is any of this true?
That's all true. Yeah, I was on the Match Game. I was also on $20,000 Pyramid. Yeah.
Wow. So, did you immediately call your friends and have them meet you on the west side of Gallagher's and blow the money? Or did it immediately go into your Twin Spires account to where it has accrued to this incredible large gesture?
Well, it turned out I lost money doing it because you had to pay your own way to go to California.
Unbelievable.
And so,
I assume the filming was in New York. It was in California.
The Match Game was in California. $20,000 Pyramid was in New York. Yeah, and I stayed at a buddy's house when I was in New York. Yeah.
So you mitigated expenses.
Yeah, pretty much broke even on it.
Okay, and so I assume you still have what, $500 or $600 from that windfall?
Oh, that was gone by the time they opened the double windows the next day.
So I'm thinking now about when did you what was the time frame as to how long from your first race, and as far as calling a race, when did Saratoga happen?
Oh,
I know it was late in your career, but
long
we're going to skip a lot.
Yeah, we're going to skip over the fact in a first 8 years of my career, I lived at 29 different addresses: Cahokia Downs, Quad City Downs, Balmoral Park, Florida Downs, Miles Park, places that you've never heard of, and then. So we're getting to Saratoga. So the Meadowland, I got hired by Hialeah in 1982. People at the Meadowlands heard me call the Flamingo on TV. They were looking for an announcer to call their harness races. I got that job. Stayed there until 1990 when I was offered the job at NYRA.
So how, that's interesting. How different was it to call a harness race?
It's very
Or did it
different.
flash? I have to
Very,
assume that
very-
quite different.
It's far different, and by my way of thinking, calling a harness race is more difficult than calling a thoroughbred race.
I would definitely think so. I mean, that must have taken a lot of research and preparation to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm. And so, what was the year of Saratoga's?
Actually, I started opening day at Belmont Park, August 29th, 1990. Belmont Park opened that year on August 29th. And then 1991 actually would have been my first year across the street here.
Mm. So, let's go into the deep water. How long since Saratoga? When did the opportunity come to do your first Triple Crown race? And by the way, I want to know also, how were you notified of that? Does your agent call you and say, Tom, are you sitting down? Are you out for drinks with your friends from NBC and they say, I think we can make this happen? How did that actually happen?
How did it?
How were you notified?
Well, I first of all, I worked for NBC. They hired me to call the first Breeders' Cup, November 10th, 1984.
Oh, I see. That preceded your first interview.
Absolutely, yes. And then I was doing that for NBC for a couple decades, and then NBC got the contract to call to do the Triple Crown races. That's probably around the year 2000, I'm guessing. Whatever year Monarchos won the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
And so NBC called me up and said, Tom, well, I knew I was going to get the job because it was in the paper that NBC has now bought the rights for the Triple Crown. I was their race caller, and, it was going to be me.
And so I want to go right to the first Derby. I think about 1964 when Cassius Clay won the heavyweight championship of the world and shocked the world. And he made a statement that I never forgot that I thought to this day was spontaneous, whereas some of his statements obviously weren't. And he said, my God, I beat Sonny Liston. I must be the greatest. You are known for your humility. No question about it. Your self-effacing humor. My question is, at the end of that first Kentucky Derby, did you allow yourself a moment, if only if only internally, right? My God, I just called the Kentucky Derby. I must be the best in the world at what I do.
I don't know a single person on the planet that gets to be more successful by patting themselves on the back.
I understand.
I did try once patting myself on the back, and I dislocated my shoulder. It's just something I don't do. That fear of failure. You see, if you don't have a proper view of yourself in the world that we live in, that fear of failure is a good thing to have. If you're cocky, you're not going to have fear of failure because I'm who I am, because of everything I've ever done, or whatever. I mean, how much credit can a person take for anything that they do? Did they teach themselves how to talk? Did they teach themselves how to multiply and add, and did they teach themselves how to get dressed or whatever?
Right.
You depend on so many things to add up to what is a particular life. So taking credit for stuff is I don't know. It's just something I'm not comfortable with.
I understand. Wow, I invoked quite a response with that. I mean, so obviously there was no, I beat Sonny Liston, I must be the greatest. There was no such moment for you at any time.
Probably as soon as they crossed the finish line, I'm pretty sure there was beer involved. I'm pretty sure.
I know there was as a viewer. I can only speak for myself. So let's go to the retirement ceremony. I want to know because 9 years later, I watched it yesterday, as a matter of fact. I've seen it many times. I saw it when it happened. It's all I could do to contain my emotions. No, I mean, I'm being serious.
No, people were crying.
My question to you is, how in the hell did you maintain your emotions? How did you get through it?
That particular speech?
Yeah.
Rehearsal. If you'll note, I did not look at any notes. You were
looking right at the camera.
It was quite to memory. I wanted to say certain things, and I did not want to forget to say them, which could be easily done. And I did it pretty good until the very, very end when my emotions got the best of me. But there's no substitute for rehearsal. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it sounded spontaneous enough.
Oh, it sure did.
Yeah, but it was, because the feeling was there.
Oh, I look at the text and I'm saying, did you spend a lot of time preparing for I won't call it I don't want to use the word comment. You spoke to the everyday person as being the underpinning foundation of thoroughbred racing, still maintaining its relevance today. How much of that was just off the cuff and just came out, or how much planning went into that?
But in that particular speech?
I'm talking about in the particular speech when you said there's one person that I want to thank right now,
yeah.
And then you went into what you went into for people all over the country that were in the backstretch, or they were in Scranton, or they didn't have time to watch the race, and they were sitting under a tree. How much of that was planned? I mean,
absolutely. Every word of that speech was planned. Yes, right. Absolutely. You can't plan for your emotions, and my voice started cracking and whatever, but because it's planned, because you've done the work to rehearse, does not make it phony. It doesn't make it insincere at all. I mean, the sincerity was there, and
I might suggest it may even make it sound more natural. He's stumbling and fumbling with no rehearsal, I would imagine.
Yeah, but I was happy with the way that turned out, and that day was, the outpouring of emotion was unbelievable. People were crying. I go, wow, what are you crying about? I don't have to go to work tomorrow. I'm not crying.
Well, look. First of all, we know each other a long time. You're very gracious to have come in here and done this with me and nobody. It's Schmendrick. Here I am interviewing. I almost made the whole interview without using the L word. I'm going to use it now. Interviewing a legend, and you know that you are, and everyone knows that you are.
But it's interesting you use the word Schmendrick. I mean, that's a real good Yiddish word, boy. I'm a Schmendrick?
No, I am.
Oh, you're the Schmendrick.
I'm the Schmendrick. I'm Yiddish. I'm the Schmendrick that would have the temerity to ask Tom Durkin to come sit down on Labor Day and do this interview, and you graciously said yes, by the way, with no hesitation.
Yeah,
so
of course.
I was using your own self-effacing strategy when I called myself that, Tom. So, my friend, your legacy endures and will always endure.
Yeah, thank God for videotape.
I'm very grateful for you being here today.
Oh, Michael, it's been a pleasure. Thanks. You're a good interviewer, by the way. You're a good interviewer.
Thank you, Tom. Well, there you have it. Sunday at Ciro's. You don't want to miss next week, by the way, where we're going to be interviewing right here at this very table the real Top Gun, Rear Admiral Gary White. Stand aside, Tom Cruise. The real deal will be here next week. Till then, remember, if it's Sunday at Ciro's.